Good morning, and we're in chapter 2 of Exodus, and we're just going to get right into it. I think there's a lot in here. There wasn't a man, I think there's a couple of things here that I wanted to go through. There went a man of the house of Levi, and took a wife, a daughter of Levi. And I've done a reference, and this is from the Come Follow Me. References to how Moses and Christ are a lot alike. I will raise up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. And in 1 Nephi 22, it actually makes it specific, and the Lord will surely prepare the way for his people unto the fulfilling of the words of Moses, which he spake, saying, A prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you, like unto me. Him shall ye hear in all things whatsoever he shall say unto you. And it shall come to pass that all those who will not hear that prophet shall be cut off from among the people. And now I, Nephi, declare unto you that this prophet whom Moses spake was the Holy One of Israel. Wherefore he shall execute judgment in righteousness. And then here it says, what is significant about the life and ministry of Moses? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that, but we'll do it anyway. Moses was one of the greatest prophets ever known. His life and mission were a subject of Joseph of Egypt's prophecies centuries before his birth. There were many similarities between Moses' life and the life and mission of Jesus, who was called a prophet like unto Moses. When the Lord called Moses to be a prophet, he told him, Thou art in the similitude of mine only begotten. The following table lists some similarities between Moses and Jesus Christ. So we have the passages, we also have similarities. Both escaped a decree of death as infants. Both were called to deliver Israel. Both were carried away by the Spirit to a high mountain, where they were shown the kingdoms of the world. Both overcame confrontations with Satan. Both remained in exile until the kings who sought to kill them had died. Both had power over the winds and sea. Both miraculously provided bread for their followers. Both provided life-saving water. Both were great lawgivers. Both were mediators between God and their people. And it's really good to see how they tie in. And you can go back and look at that in your own study as well. And throughout, there's a few places where I've marked some of those, not all of them, but some of them. And we see under the daughter of Levi, we see, this is from Come Follow Me manual as well. What impresses you about the woman described in Exodus 1 and 2? Remember the midwives yesterday as well. You can include them. How did they help fulfill God's plan for his people? What do their efforts teach you about the service in God's work? I think those are good questions to keep in mind as you're going through this as well. And the woman conceived and bare a son, and when she saw that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and dabbed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags of the river's bank, or the bulrushes, I believe is that. And his sisters stood far off to see, or to wit, what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens, and walked along by the riverside. When she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. So here's a lot of women in this, and that's why we should be looking at that. There's a picture here, I believe, in the corner, if I can get it, just to give you a visual of Moses in the bulrushes and them seeing it. And when she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept, and she had compassion on him, and said, "This is one of the Hebrews' children." Then said his sister to the Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call thee a nurse of the Hebrew woman, that she may nurse the child for thee?" I think it's really interesting that how this goes out, because she's one of the Egyptians, and the way the Pharaoh was running things is basically saying these Hebrews are horrible, just only good for slavery, basically. And even then, it's not good enough. We should kill these Hebrew sons. And yet, Pharaoh's daughter, when she saw the baby, had compassion. She couldn't do it. She wouldn't do it. It wasn't like any other, just something that was distant. It was something that she had to deal with right then, and how she felt was that she should save the child. But maybe if he's raised as an Egyptian, then maybe he wouldn't have those Hebrew aspects. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, "Go." And the maid went and called the child's mother. I think that's really interesting. That it doesn't say what happens here, but it does sound like Pharaoh's daughter did not know that this was the mother, just knew that it was a wet wife, as they call them, or whatever, that would be able to take care of him, a nurse. And the Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, "Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages." And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew. It doesn't tell us why Moses' mother did what she did, but I think she had inspiration that this will save her son's life somehow, and it did. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son, and she called him Moses. Moses, meaning in Egyptian to beget a child, and in Hebrew to draw out, meaning that he's drawn out of the. And she said, "Because I drew him out of the water." What do we know about Moses' upbringing in Egypt? Exodus offers only a limited information about Moses' life in Egypt after he was adopted by the Pharaoh's daughter. However, the book of Acts provides additional insights about Moses' early years. Stephen explained that Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and was mighty in words and in deeds. And the ancient Hebrew historian Josephus suggested that Moses was a well-educated prince and a military general in the service of Egypt. Stephen's teachings suggest that Moses knew that he would be one to deliver the Hebrews from Egypt. He taught that when Moses was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel, for he supposed that his brethren would have understood how that God by his hand would deliver them, but they understood not. This is an important fact in this story that we don't get right here. And it came to pass the days when Moses was grown, he went out to his brethren, and looked upon their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. And we've got another comment here. Why did Moses slay an Egyptian? We haven't got to that yet, but we will. The account of Moses smiting an Egyptian taskmaster is brief and lacks many details, and the Hebrew word translated smiting in verse 11 is translated as slew in verse 12 and describes the violent action of soldiers. This suggests that the Hebrew slave's life was truly in danger. In other words, Moses killed an Egyptian to save the life of the Hebrew. Moses' actions before and after the incident imply that he knew the Egyptians would not approve of what he did. However, since he was acting in defense, Moses was not guilty of murder. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out to his brother and looked upon their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren, and he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, the men of the Hebrews strove together, and he said unto them, what them said unto him, and he said unto him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? So this is the Hebrews talking to him and saying, why did you do that? And remember, they see him as a Hebrew, and remember what we talked about, that he said to them, which isn't in here, that he's there to deliver them. And you get that a little bit out of this as you're reading that. And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me, as thou killedst the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known. So right here, first of all, people know about it. And second of all, him trying to get them on his side, saying, I'll deliver you if you just help me out here, doesn't work. They don't believe him. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Now here we have who was Jethro. Jethro was known as Reuel. Reuel was the name of my grandfather as well. Not the same one, by the way. I'm not that old, and neither is my grandfather. Was the high priest of Midian, a region to the east of Egypt as a Midianite. Jethro was a descendant of Abraham and Keturah through their son Midian. Moses married Zipporah, one of Jethro's daughters. From latter-day scripture, we learn that Jethro received the priesthood through the lineage of Abraham and that he conferred the priesthood upon Moses. And that becomes very important in this story. How did Moses get his power? Why was he as he was? Now the priests of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled their troughs to water their father's flock. It seems a lot happens at the watering holes. And the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flocks. I think seeing an Egyptian helping them out would have been enough to make the shepherds go, okay, I'm not messing with them. And then they came to rule their father. He said, how is it that ye are come so soon today? And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hands of the shepherds, and drew water enough for us, and watered the flocks. And he said to his daughters, where is he? Why is it that ye have left the man? Call him, that he may eat bread. And Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses Zipporah, his daughter, and she bare him a son, and called his name Gershom. And Gershom we find is, for he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land, basically not settled, not in a land. I'll just go to the footnote anyway. A sojourner there is the way I couldn't think of the word, but and it came to pass that in the process of time, the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of bondage, and they cried, their cry came up to God by reason of the bondage. And God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect for them. And we're just going to look at this here. How did God's covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob relate to the Israelites in Egypt? The Lord had made remarkable promises through his covenants with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Among these promises were that the kings and nations would descend from Abraham, that all the nations of the earth would be blessed through his seed, and that Abraham and his descendants would receive the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession. The Lord also promised Abraham that though his descendants would be one day enslaved in a land that is not theirs, they would ultimately come out with great substance. After centuries of enslavement in Egypt, it might have been easy for the Israelites to feel that God had forgotten them, but Exodus 2:24 reminds us that God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob, and the Lord will always honor his covenants with his people. President Russell M. Nelson taught, once you and I have made a covenant with God, our relationship with him becomes much closer than before our covenant. Now we are bound together because of our covenant with God. He will never tire in his effort to help us, and we will never exhaust his merciful patience with us. Each of us has a special place in God's heart. I love that, and I think that's a good place to end. I just want to go to the footnote here just so you understand that God knew that he was cognizant of him. It wasn't just, oh, I have respect for him, but I know you. And that is how we should feel, that God knows us. And I hope you feel that this day, and we'll see you tomorrow.